Welcome to the Sower Project, the podcast where Bible meets music, making Christian music Christian and music again, one conversation at a time. I'm your host, Eric, the songwriter behind the solo project, Sower. I get all snugged up with this
snuggly
microphone. So, hey.
Hey. Are we recording right now? Oh, yeah, we are.
We're always recording right now. Okay. So Jeremiah is one of my closest friends in the world. We've known each other 16, 17 years, maybe, something like that.
Since 2011?
Yeah. And we're in the same church. Our families are friends, close friends with each other. I was in Jeremiah's wedding, gave a little speech.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty decent. But we do music together off and on, but we both have, so I'm doing Sower Project. Well, to tell you, like, Jeremiah played drums live for us at Audio Feed. Super solid musician, drummer across the board. But also he has a band that he's in, and they're super good. And so we want to spend some time talking about a new album that's coming out. So tell me a little bit about Fury and Solace, which is your band. What kind of music inspires you? And tell me about this new album, and maybe even talk about the old album, because I want people to like, at the very least, I want people to listen to your stuff, even if you have to pause this and go follow Fury and Solace. Do it now, and then come back to this, because it's super good stuff. So talk about your band.
So it's me and three other guys. I joined the band a couple of years ago. It was originally started by my really good friend, Adam Simmons, which him and I played in a previous band called Spirit and the Bride.
Check them out too, by the way.
Yeah.
It's like, what, hardcore?
Yeah, totally different genre.
Spirit-filled hardcore.
Yes. So we did that. We did Spirit and the Bride back in 2015. I'm trying to think. 2015 to 2017. And we did that with Adam's brother. And so after Spirit and the Bride was done, I wasn't really doing music very regularly other than just playing at Christ the King, playing at church. But then I got a call from Adam, and he was like, hey, we need a guitar player just to help write, and we wanted to see if you wanted to come to a practice and see if you could help us write some more music. I was like, sure.
Well, pause it real quick. Just tell people, what kind of music is it?
So it's instrumental post-rock stuff.
So who are some big influences for you?
Russian Circles is probably the biggest influence.
Now name one that people have heard of.
If you absolutely do not know what post-rock is, I tell people it's like U2 without vocals.
Okay.
If that's probably like the most like rough description, but
with some indie rock and like heavy influences a lot of times.
Yeah. So it's like U2 without vocals, but definitely way heavier than U2.
So it's like worship music without vocals.
Yes.
And with good production.
Yes. In other words.
So my go-to, and really like my favorite of these bands, is Explosions in the Sky.
Yep.
So I'm not like super well versed in the whole, small category of what you're talking about, but I love Explosions in the Sky. And for me, as somebody who loves vocals and loves lyrics, for me, that music, it's basically like, I've always thought about this being like a background in my life. Like if I walk around with my headphones on, it's like a soundtrack. It's a soundtrack for my emotions and for meditating on God, for reading His Word. So a lot of times when I read the Bible or I read a book, I'll put on instrumental music in the background, and it's crazy to me how it just kind of like helps my brain to focus, or if I'm falling asleep, or if I'm just driving and thinking. So when I listen to your stuff, it's super good, but it's like meditative is how I would talk about it. It's like it's almost like movie music, It's like a score for your life.
Yep. our aim is to be very cinematic, very dynamic. I mean, we have a new record coming out. It's called By Endurance. It'll come out in the winter sometime. We are very we're so ready to get this album out. It's taken a long time to record it. We literally spent a whole year writing and recording and mixing, mastering.
And it sounds phenomenal.
Yeah.
I've gotten a chance to listen to most of it. It's really good.
Yeah.
And it's mixed pretty well too. Who mixed it?
Nate Washburn, who plays in My Epic and played in Becoming the Archetype for a little bit. I think on their last record he played on their stuff, but he's recorded all sorts of bands on Face Down and I think on Tooth and Nail, maybe some Solid State bands. He's done all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So we self-recorded the album through Adam's studio that he built, but then Nate did all the mixing and mastering. So.
Yeah. Quit fidgeting around with your water down here.
Sorry. Man,
don't put it there because it'll be in the shot.
Crap.
And it's not even
sorry.
water. It's Diet Citrus Drop.
I'm doing so many podcast faux pas.
Yeah, well, me too. But it's like I drink this Diet Citrus Drop and I let you borrow some to put in your water bottle. We're like the epitome of good health right now, I guess.
What if people think it's like a pee bottle?
Well, they do now. I didn't mean to totally cut you off. I partly meant to, because I wanted people to like get their mind around what your music is like, because they can go check it out, and they should. So where can they find Fury and Solace?
So Adam is very active on TikTok.
And he loves Tic Tacs too, right?
Yeah, he does like Tic Tacs.
Big fan. You always hear him coming.
Yeah. We have Instagram. The Instagram handle is Fury Solace. If you look for us on Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, we're on all those streaming things, but make sure that you do Fury and Solace. The and is an ampersands, not the word and, because people have had issues finding us.
Yeah. But just at least go follow it and come back to it, because if you're on a drive, or if you're just like, hey, I'm going to take some time to pray, just put on, even like their last album is still really good. But the new one's better. I'm confident.
I'm really, really excited for it to be out.
All right. Well, that is it for now. We'll come back, and it kind of like streams into our story, but I wanted to talk to you because you're like one of my longest music friends, and we've had a lot of life together. We've you knew Owen when he was like 1 year old, my 19-year-old, maybe 1 or 2. We met when your band was recording in my studio and you were still in high school.
I just got out of high school, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of discipleship. There's a lot of spiritual growth. You've seen me at some of my best and worst times. Same with you.
Yeah.
And we've like really walked through a lot of difficulties in life as Christians, and as husbands and fathers together, and we're still doing that. And thank God we're at the same church, and have been for like, dude, my family's been there for 12 years, and you were there.
I started going there in 2013.
Yeah. And so we play in the worship band together. We watch their kids. Our oldest kids sometimes watch your kids. Like we're close. And so it's really cool. This friendship is a huge blessing to me, to my family. And one of the things I want to say about Jeremiah that I love so much, and that kind of drew me close to him, is that he tells the truth, even when it's almost like he's got a gift. You understand exactly where I'm going.
Compliments.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a gift of just like drawing attention to things in a unique way, such as how bad my songs sound. But he's got a critical eye for music. Well, eye for music. He's got a critical ear for music, and maybe I can just tell the story of the first time.
Yeah.
So I was doing this prayer meeting here, and it was probably 15 years ago or something, like a long time ago. And Jeremiah and I didn't know each other very well, and I was playing this band that I just got done mixing called Dear Lovely in my living room. And it was like after the Bible study was over, we were all hanging out. It was like maybe 20 of us guys. from bands that I recorded. And it was like a super sweet time of life. You know, we were all growing in our faith. And I was playing this song, and I was like feeling really good about it. And he goes, "Oh, what is wrong with that snare?"
No, it was the cymbals.
Okay. No, it wasn't, dude.
It was the
snare
cymbals.
Drum. Your memory's off. You said, "I don't like this snare drum." I very, very much remember that.
It was definitely cymbals.
Okay, well, it was both.
Maybe, okay,
so whatever. In my memory, he goes, "I don't like this snare drum." And I'm like, okay, you know, I can take criticism. It's fine. And then I say, and then our friend Jake says, "You know, Eric produced this, right?" And he's like, and then Jeremiah kind of looks for a second, and he's like, "Yeah, I really don't like this snare drum."
But like, I think one of the best parts of that story is with like all these, you know, these guys from different bands. We're all sitting in your living room, and we're listening to this, and I say something, but no one laughs other than Jake. Jake bursts out laughing, like, because the most hearty laugh I've ever heard.
He's probably the only one who knew that I was like trying to show off this new mix. And you just like immediately like, oh, like you're the disgust in your face for the quality. And that's, honestly, I need people in my life who will tell me that the snare drum is crappy. And it helps me to grow, honestly. And I'm not saying you're not doing it to be mean or rude. No. But when you see something, you see it, and you have this like pinpoint way of seeing things and hearing things. And especially with music, it's just been a huge blessing. So like once a song is like really close to done, if I send it to you, I know for a fact that what you have to say is either gonna like confirm or deny what I think is happening in the song. So if I don't know, and you're not even trying to do it, you just do it.
Yeah.
And I think for me that's super helpful. It obviously that kind of thing can, you know, bother some people, but for me especially, I mean, you got to use discretion with it, but you've sharpened me quite a bit in spiritual and in like musical ways.
Yeah.
So that's been awesome.
Well, I think over time I've grown to be a little less critical at times with sound, because I remember just some of the mixings you've sent me of other songs you've done recently of like your own stuff. I've just kind of been like, you know what, I'm not gonna like overly critique this. I think it sounds fine, because at a certain point it can be subjective. I don't know, what are you thinking right now?
No, I'm just laughing because there's a brutal honesty that's just, it's very comforting to me.
But I also don't want to be so overly critical that you feel like, man, like you could critique something to death, but at a certain point you got to be like, okay, I'm happy with this. You know, one person may be really overly critical with the track, and another person could be like, oh, this is awesome, I love this.
Right.
You know, like I've learned that even playing live music too, that like even playing at church, you know, we'll play and we might feel like, man, I missed this part, or man, you know, that dynamic sounded really terrible. But then I'll ask my wife after church, like, hey, how did things sound? She was like, oh, it was great. You know, I didn't hear any mistakes.
Well, part of this is just the curse of, and I'm not saying that it's not a bad thing, but it can be, is the curse of being an artist, like of having like really, really powerful experiences with music, and then like having just like wanting to find something that kind of tops that. Like you and I have very, very high standards for music, right?
Yeah.
And it's because we're creating, but we're also thinking. So part of the curse is like, it's really hard to turn off that critical ear. And sometimes you have to turn it off, you know? Like there's a mystical element to music that like, you know, during the worship gathering, people are singing to the Lord and that's all they're thinking about. And we're like thinking about the snare drum and how you want to like tune it a little higher. Man, I wish I would have tuned the snare drum, you know, a little bit higher.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is it's like in some ways we have to discipline ourselves to not be overly critical, because sometimes the song itself comes through better with a worse sounding snare drum.
Yeah, you want people to enjoy the music. At the end of the day, it's easy to get caught up in tones and tunings, this, that, and the other, but I want people to enjoy the music. And or in the case of church, people just want to worship. People want to worship the Lord, and we're there as the conduit to help people worship God. And you don't have to get super caught up with how something may sound, or if you accidentally missed a note by accident. So I've grown to be less critical. I've learned to not make mountains out of molehills.
Yeah, and both of us are a work in progress, and we're similar in that way. And obviously, it's one thing when it's music related. It can be another problem when it's related to your wife or your kids. So it's just, I think there's a particular wiring that, everybody's different. Like, God has gifted us differently and wired us differently. And I think that everybody is on a pathway to being sanctified, every Christian.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen you grow a lot in all of these things. But like when I first met you, I just thought like, this guy is raw talent. And you just have so much musical talent. It's unbelievable. And naturally you don't even realize it, because that's how some of the most talented people are. But okay, the challenge. So with Sower Project, one of the things I love about it is not working with other people. I know that maybe sounds bad, but it's the experience of writing things and just like being able to like spend time alone with the Lord and come up with ideas, and to like, but then whenever I feel like it's the right time, I might share the music with somebody and get feedback. Sometimes I do that too early because I get super excited.
Right.
But the thing I was going to ask you about is with Fury and Solace, this was a band, an actual band,
yes,
not a solo project,
not AI.
And there's compromises that you absolutely have to make whenever you're in a band working with other people. And tell me a little bit about how you guys worked through some of those compromises, because you're going to end up with some things that you're like, man, I wish we did this instead of that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you bring that up, because we've run into these issues already. And even talking about music that we want to write for the future, we've run into some of these issues. So the band initially started with Bevan Binder, my guitar player, of him writing some of his own music. And
kind of like a solo project, right?
Pretty much. It was a solo project at first. And then eventually he had Andy, the drummer, come in, and it was just him and Andy. And he was like, Bevan was like trying to get Adam to join, but at first Adam was like, "Oh, I'm not really interested." But then, but this is actually a funny story. But then when Adam found out that Andy was playing with Bevan, he's like, "Oh, okay," because Andy is probably the best musician out of all of us. Because
that's saying a lot.
It's huge.
Because Adam is also one of those same kind of guys where like just musical talent just spills out of the guy.
Yeah. So
if this gives you any indication to go listen to Fury and Solace, it's that I'm saying that all of these guys are insanely talented musicians.
So just to give some context for our band, so Andy used to play for the metalcore band Corpus Christi. They were on Victory Records, and they toured with, I can't remember, I think they were on Scream the Prayer tour, if anyone's familiar with that, back in the early 2000s. They toured, he's got a whole snare drum case with bands that have signed his snare drum case, and he's toured with Gwen Stacy, he's toured with Protest the Hero, he's played shows with Between the Buried and Me,
and he's your drummer.
Yes, he is our drummer.
He is amazing.
And then when it comes to Cincinnati local music, he played in the band The Beneath back in the day. And so he has been playing drums for years and years, and he is incredibly talented. And then Adam and I, obviously, we played it in Spirit and the Bride, but Adam's played in multiple bands over the years.
And Adam was the drummer in Spirit and the Bride.
Yes.
Wait, Spirit of the Bride.
Spirit of the Bride. Spirit of the Bride or Spirit
Princess
and the
Bride. But now he's playing bass.
Yeah, so Adam's playing bass, which is funny because I played bass in Spirit and the Bride.
Yeah.
And now I'm playing guitar, which this is the most guitar I've ever played in a band ever. But this is the kind of music I've always told myself, if I ever played guitar in a band, this is the type of music I would want to do it in.
So back to the question. Listen, give me one example of a time where you guys had to work through some disagreements on the music during the creation of this new album.
Yeah, so anyways, this was kind of Bevan's brainchild, if you will. This was his big project. So as we've joined in, I've given him some pushback at times because he has such a particular vision for this band. I tend to lean more towards the pretty melodic stuff, a lot of like finger picking stuff. If anyone's familiar with the genre, like I'm more into This Will Destroy You, Hammock. I'm trying to think of more Explosions in the Sky, where they have a lot of really pretty dynamic music. Yeah. Whereas I think Bevan leans more towards the Russian Circles, Caspian, like really, really more the heavier type instrumental music. And Bevan is really influenced also by As Cities Burn, which we all are influenced by that band.
Including
they're one
me.
of our favorite bands of all time.
Yeah.
But he likes their first record a lot, and I like their first record a lot too. But that record has so much
it's super
technical heavy stuff in it, and so his vision is he wants like technical heavy elements in our music, which I like, but I also want really pretty dynamics in our stuff. So we have some of that throughout our new record coming. I think it's got way more pretty dynamic stuff than the last album. But I would love at some point in the future of the band to try to focus more on the pretty melodic stuff.
I think what you get though is you get a combination that none of you would have done by yourself. That's the benefit of it. Like working with other people and having to compromise on some things and push and pull. When I listen, the stuff I've heard so far from the new record is very dynamic, and I can tell what you're just describing to me about you and Bevan and kind of these different angles. I'm hearing it on the songs.
100%.
And I love, like, it gets super heavy, but in a pretty way. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't really know. I'm not an expert in instrumental progressive rock. I don't even know what you called it earlier. Say it again.
Post rock.
Yeah, post rock. But it's there's times where it's so heavy, but yeah, it's so like cinematic at the same time.
Yep. Yeah.
So I really, really like that. But so was there any time in the studio where you don't have to like throw people under the bus or anything, but I'm just saying, like, I know that there are times when you're with a band or even working with a producer where, like on The Seed, there are things that I didn't want to do or I wanted to do that didn't make it. And, sometimes I'm like, I'm glad that I listened to that. But then other times I'm like, man, I wish I would have done that.
Yeah. So the benefit of Adam he built the studio and we were able to record on our own time is that you can write in real time. So a lot of the songs, I feel like we kept the structure of most of the songs, but we did add some parts as we were recording. And Bevan and I remember once we butted heads about making a part more technical for one of the songs, and so he wanted me to write something way more technical than what I added. My guitar playing, so because I don't play a ton of guitar as it is, my parts are probably way more simple than what Bevan expects me to do. because Bevan is a way more technical guitar player than I am. So I'm having to catch up to that technicality with him.
Well, you're relying more on like the tone and the feel.
Yes.
And you're like basically providing like a backdrop.
The textures.
Yeah, the textures.
That was my intention when I first joined Fearing Solace, was adding textures to the music rather than technicality. But so as we were recording some of our stuff, we kind of butted heads a bit about a part being more technical than I thought it should be. But this kind of goes back to what we first talked about in this discussion of, I've just learned to be okay. I'm not going to make mountains out of molehills with stuff, and be, you know what, if we want to make it more technical, I'll be okay with that. But ultimately, I'm really, really proud of this album because we worked super, super hard on it. I mean, multiple weekends. Like I've taken work off for us to get together at Adam's place to write and to record. Us just going back and forth on what sounds good, what parts work. We really poured our souls into this album.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait till it comes out, and again, people are gonna love it.
Yeah.
I do want to I want to take a trip down memory lane, and
oh boy.
Just again, like one of the benefits of this podcast episode would just be like you and I have such history together, so it could end up being hard for people to like follow because there's so much.
You and I could talk about anything.
We could talk about anything forever, and we could talk about literally nothing for hours. Where we're like having this like fake
we're like
conversation.
a living Seinfeld,
Yes,
it's just a show about nothing, a friendship about nothing.
Exactly. That's why this is gonna be so funny. No, I'm just kidding. Not. But okay. Do you remember the first time you came into my studio to record? Because I'm trying to remember it. And like what the experiences was, because I remembered you were Yasu's brother.
Yes.
That's what I knew.
Yeah. So how I met you was through my stepbrother, which I know him as Paul, but you know him as Yasu. So my stepbrother is Japanese. I grew up in a pretty much a hybrid Japanese American home, because his dad, my stepdad, is full-blooded Japanese, but by his stepdad's first marriage, he was married to an American woman, and so my stepbrother, he's half Japanese, half American. So he goes by Yasu with some people, but I knew him as Paul. That's a long-winded description. But
it sounds
so
like
anyways,
you're chasing the wind.
Yes. Oh yeah, chasing the wind. Yeah.
So your band was called
Wind Chaser.
Okay.
Which those were fun days, man. Those, in some ways there were good days, but in other ways they were really bad because I considered myself not saved at that time. I mean, I grew up in a Christian home, but I was totally living a double lifestyle. But anyways, so how I met you was through my stepbrother's band, because he was recording with you. Did you come in with them, or did you just come in with your band, Wind Chaser? I came in with Wind Chaser.
Okay.
But Paul would invite me to you would do like these Moonlight annual, I don't know.
I did a Moonlight football event.
Yeah.
Which was super cool.
Yeah, so he just invited me over to that. I would just hang out with Remember When pretty regularly.
So you were hanging out with the band, but then sometime around that time is when I started. I felt like God was like doing some stuff in my life, for sure, but also in the people I was recording, and I was seeing some people come to faith. So I decided to have a prayer meeting and just invite all of the people. And this was like the first time I ever led anything, and you were there. Yeah. And I remember going into the bathroom beforehand and like praying, like, Lord, I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing? Why did I do this? Like, what is happening? People are coming to something expecting me to like know what I'm doing. I have no idea. And I just prayed, and prayed, and then I felt like God was like, share the gospel and tell your testimony and open up the scriptures.
Yeah, man.
And so we prayed, but then I like shared the gospel, and we just talked, and it was like, half the people there weren't Christians, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I just told people directly, like, we're going to pray and hang out. And I just invited a bunch of people. But
well, so my perspective on it, so I was going to the Vineyard Community Church in Tri-County.
Which I was too at the time.
And that's how you and I kind of connected, was like, oh, we both went to the same church, but you were...
It was like 10,000 people at the time, though.
Yeah, it was a huge church. And Crossroads was like just growing, but they weren't quite as... I don't think they were quite as big as the Vineyard, but anyways... So when I first met you, you told me that, oh, well, I'm actually taking my family out of the Vineyard, and that like kind of piqued my interest. So I was like, why is that? And you just started showing me the scriptures, like just, well, you had friends in your life that were challenging you about going there because there just wasn't any substance to that church, admittedly, that just the Bible wasn't being preached fully, and they weren't really, I don't think they really preached on sin very much, and it was becoming this cultural, the culture was influencing it more than the scriptures were influencing it big time, and I remembered that they were starting to go towards like a universalism route, because Rob Bell's love wins. Anyways.
I'll just say this just to be crystal clear. Like, there was one pastor at the Vineyard who would stand up and talk and tell stories, and he didn't crack open a Bible the whole time. Multiple times. That was Joe Boyd was his name. He's since deconstructed, no surprise. But there were a few pastors there who were like trying to talk about the benefits of Love Wins and how it's, a great work and all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, are you serious? And they were like defending it as a good academic resource to read, and it's a total heretical.
Right.
And that wasn't the only thing. There was a lot of things as the Lord was just like reviving my soul and my spirit. And as the more I read the Bible, the more hungry I was.
Yeah.
And the more disappointed I was every Sunday. Like, I was just like, Lord, what am I supposed to do?
But it was really cool. I just remember one evening you just opened the scriptures to me, and you started talking to me about the core tenets of biblical doctrine I remember you drew like a picture of justification, then sanctification, then glorification. And I was like, I've never heard this in my whole life. And I had grown up in a Christian home, and it was really sad, man. When I was at the Vineyard, I truly thought that I already kind of knew everything about the Bible. I wasn't really sitting in church. I would play in the band, like in the youth group, but then whenever service was going on, I would never like sit in the service. I was just hanging out with my friends, and it was just a big social event for me. But then you actually started challenging me to understand the Bible more, and I was like, this is a whole new world for me.
Yeah. I mean, we could edit this out if you're uncomfortable with it, but I remember the thing for me is that you brought this girl to one of our Bible studies, and it was like your new girlfriend.
Yeah, my evangel dating days.
And I remember saying to you, like, because I had known at this point that like Christians shouldn't date non-believers, and I'd seen its effects by this point in people's lives, but also I saw it in the Bible. So I remember asking you, like, is this girl a Christian? Because I didn't get the impression that she knew anything about the gospel. And you were like, well, I think so. And I was like, you were kind of just not, you weren't clear.
Yeah.
So I said, well, let me just ask it this way. Does she own a Bible? And you were like, yeah, I gave her one. I was like, that doesn't count, And, in your mind, yes, your intentions were probably like, hey, I want her to know the Lord and everything else. But I was just like, that was like the big that was like the big climax of our friendship because I pressed you
Yes.
very hard. I was like, you got to break up with her.
Yeah.
And
I'll never forget it. I mean, I remember sitting in your studio downstairs in the basement, and you had some really hard discussion with me. And you, I mean, I think at that time, whenever I've told this story, you've told me you might have approached it differently nowadays. But at the time, this is what I needed. I mean, you were like, you need to break up with this girl right now.
move this way a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
Just so you're not.
All right.
Okay.
My bad. But you told me that you need to break up with this girl right now because your intentions with this don't make any sense, and you guys are, fooling around, getting into, sexual immorality and all sorts of stuff. But that's why I say, that I was two-faced back then. I grew up Christian, but I just thought I was like a rock star. And I just realized in that moment that I either need to follow Jesus or not follow him at all. And so when you challenged me on that, I was like, you know what? I think I need to do this. But even so, I ended up breaking up with her. But even after I broke up with her the first time, I still like was back and forth with her a little bit, and I remember even like getting in a big argument with you on the phone once.
I remember exactly where I was standing. I was standing out by my shed in the back.
It was wild. Yeah, and I was, dude. It's so funny to think about that time because I feel like I was like a totally different person back then.
Well, here's what I loved. I mean, honestly, I loved you like a little brother. I mean, I just, and that's how it's been in the studio with like ministry over the years. But I saw where things were headed. I knew what the Bible said. I knew that you were on the fence.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I had to push you off the fence. And I knew it was going to hurt. So I remember telling you, like, I was like pretty harsh with you. And I warned you. And I don't remember exactly all that I said. But the thing that blew my mind was that, and this is God's kindness alone.
Yeah.
Period. But the thing that blew my mind is that you just like, even though I was being kind of a-hole, I mean, you got mad at me too. Like we had some hard words. It was a battle, man. It was like pulling teeth, but you still repented, and and I was just so proud of you. And that's been, so the thing I always say, like at the bottom of it, when discipling people, is do they have a teachable spirit? Like, are they willing to change when confronted with the word of God? Do they hold God's word to be authoritative and final? And a lot of times you can kind of like save yourself a lot of trouble if you just like immediately see that this person does not believe the Bible. They're not serious. Mm-hmm. They're not going to follow Christ. They've got every excuse in the book. And there are times to shake the dust off your feet,
right, and just move on.
And it's painful, man.
Yeah.
But when I was dealing with you, I was constantly encouraged at the end of these battles. I mean, we prayed a ton for you, and it's just crazy, man. It's just God's grace to see where we're at now and what the Lord's done. I mean, I've grown a ton since then, too.
Right.
But just to be able to see you, just meet Alina, and then to be standing in your wedding. I think I was your best man.
Yeah, you were my best man.
And to see now your kids growing up and singing songs about Jesus and like, learning
it's
catechisms
wild.
And stuff. And I mean, life is still hard. There's no question. We still need each other to press each other. We do that, commonly. It's not like every day, but yeah, it's just wild to me, and the fact that we have this musical background that is also like you're my closest music friend by far, and you're one of my closest friends in the world, period. But just to be on the same level, you don't always have that. I mean, some people don't have those kinds of close friendships, and I hope people can get them, but you're not going to get it by going on Instagram. You need to be in a local church, and so many people right now don't recognize what they're missing.
Right.
Within the church. It's like The Office, I always thought it was funny how The Office pretends like the show is great. It's hilarious, but they pretend that these people are best friends. And like the reason why they're acting like these office mates are like best friends is because that doesn't exist anywhere except for in the church. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like where you're actually in each other's lives and
Right.
you're watching each other's kids
Yep.
and you're doing all that stuff. Like people long for that. So it's like written into stories all the time. But then people don't have that. And so they run to all sorts of substitutes.
Yep.
But I couldn't be more thankful for you and for your friendship. And so that's why, I mean, ultimately, if people hear anything, it's like if you don't have that right now, you need the local church, and it's not gonna happen overnight, and you're not gonna be friends with everybody.
Yeah,
and there's gonna be like sometimes 2 or 3 years, and you're like, man, what's going on right now?
Yeah,
and
it takes
sometimes
time.
10 years,
Yeah.
But the discipleship and the sanctification that happens when you're close enough with somebody to actually have conflict, that's when you know it's time to stick it out. And I think a lot of people, as soon as you start having conflict, they flee, and you didn't have that, and that's God's grace alone.
Yeah, I mean, I wrestled through that kicking and screaming, but I knew the whole time though. I knew, and I think this was a grace by the Holy Spirit. I knew that you were right. I knew every word you were saying to me was right, and by God's grace, like, He was helping me come to my senses of just realizing that I was living in immorality and not following the Lord wholeheartedly, and you can't be lukewarm. You have to either follow Him or you do not. And and we're here now. I mean, it's still a journey being a disciple. I'm still working through things. You're still working through things. But it's been good to grow in the Lord with you, man. And also it's so wild to think about, like, you've been an elder, you've taught the Bible in our church, and I remember meeting you way before all that. So
like I said, you were at the first time I ever did anything like teaching.
Yeah.
And I did not have a clue. And that went on for years.
It's so funny, but I mean, where you were at, you were discipling me. I don't think we knew that you were discipling me, or maybe you did, but I don't think I realized that you were discipling me at that time.
Yeah, but I mean, it's hard to know. There's so much, like, there's the organic ministry, which is the vast majority of ministry is organic, and then there's like programmed. And I think sometimes sometimes we want everything to be in a category.
Right.
But the truth is that all Christians have a role to disciple other people.
Yes.
And it's just a question of whether you're ahead of them or not in your faith. And then if you are, you have something to give them. But
right.
You can't do it. I mean, I was zealous because the Lord had done that work in my heart. But you can't give what you don't have.
Yep.
And I don't know. I think most of us, all of us really struggle to see where we're weak and what we actually need. So we just have to keep seeking the Lord, and he'll reveal it. If he revealed it all at one time, we would die,
Yeah.
But it is wild to look back and to see like how far we've come. And I guarantee you 10 years from now, we'll do the same thing.
Yep.
Maybe not as drastic, but
yeah.
I feel like that's a good place to end it, just because, like, it's an encouraging word. Hopefully anybody who's listening, don't forsake Jesus. Don't turn from him. Don't turn from his church. Don't turn from his people. Don't turn from prayer. And if you have, good news. Today's the day of repentance. Today's the day of salvation. You can turn off a stupid podcast and pray to the God who created all of this.
Turn off this podcast and go to church.
Done.
There you go.
Cool.